Hi guys, Mark here from the Depression Bully. So I wanted to make this video for a while, and excuse the poor quality, it's literally just with me and my iPhone at the moment. Um, but as things get settled, I'm going to start doing sort of better edited videos for you. So I'm going to talk to you today about mental health problems and debt slash financial issues. So this can apply if you are just struggling in general, if you're a business owner, and if you're just worried about finances. So these are tips, guys. This is just personal advice to you. So my disclaimer here is I'm not a debt advisor, and I'm certainly not a doctor or a mental health psychiatrist. So this is just all out of experience. So if you choose to take the advice I'm giving you, then please feel free to do so. You really don't have to. Right, so I'm going to get straight to it. 2018 has been appalling. It's now the 1st of January 2019. And this isn't a video to say, I was here and now I'm here. And look at me, I'm all fabulous again. And I've sorted all of my debt out. I haven't. And it would be a lie to tell you that I have. However, I'm further on than I think some people. When you first enter a crisis due to a change in your mental health, or it starts to become a problem and you haven't thought about how to tackle it, then this is where I can advise you. Okay, now having money problems is nothing to be ashamed of. Honestly, it really isn't. And the people that make you feel ashamed about it are the wrong people to be discussing it with, okay? Especially if you are suffering with depression and anxiety or any type of mental health disorder, okay? So if you're watching this and you're not really, you're one of these people that are watching it and hasn't been in this situation and you're judging already, this isn't the video for you, and I really recommend that you just stop watching right now, because you're not going to understand, and there's just no point. I'm not here to necessarily educate people, I'm here to help people. So let's talk about debt, okay? We're in a generation where debt is freely available to us, and it doesn't necessarily limit itself anymore. You could go and get thousands and thousands of debt instantly, and people are doing it because we are in a society where we do not earn enough to pay our bills. We do not have enough money left to even live, okay? So people, which I'm sure there are people that are going to relate to this, people have credit cards, people have debt to use for everyday purposes, not for how they used to be used. People get a credit card and might put a holiday on it, or they might buy something nice, and do you know what I mean, and pay it off. People now with credit cards are using them for everyday purposes, like paying their rent, paying their council tax, buying their shopping, because people just don't have the money. And I think if you are watching this and you haven't been in this situation, you're very lucky, okay? And like I said, if you haven't been in that situation, you might not know how that feels, and good for you if you haven't, okay? But there are people that are. So then include the fact that you are spiraling into debt, which it happens, guys, and it's quite common. It really is common. We're a generation of debt owers now, and I want to talk to you about when it gets tough, emotionally and mentally, and what to do. Now, these are things that I've done. So I've been in the situation where I've had phone calls, I've had letters, and I have been deeply depressed and wanted to commit suicide. And the last thing you need is, when you are in that state, when you are waking up every morning wishing you hadn't, and wishing you were dead because you cannot stand the pain anymore, the last thing you need are creditors calling you 4 or 5 times a day, and they do. So there's a card that I've got a bit that's overdue on. I mean, we're not talking much. We're really not talking much at all. In fact, this could be anybody's mistake, right? 5 times a day. 5 times. So they'd ring, stop. Now, I've had a lot going on the past couple of months. I am just exiting quite a bad period of my life, okay? And I'm still getting intrusive thoughts. I'm still struggling. So, and I've just moved house, okay? I've just bought a house that isn't necessarily near to my friends and my family. It's about 4 or 5 hours away. She's fine. I'm looking forward to getting settled in. So I haven't really given a shit about, you know, answering phone calls to creditors. I will deal with them when I have the chance. And actually today I have. So let's break this down. Okay, so let's use credit card, for example. You've got a credit card and you have maxed it out, okay? Or you cannot make the minimum payment. Now, you will get a letter, you'll get a phone call, and they're often they're quite strongly worded letters, which really annoys me, because let's face it, people don't just ignore debt for the sake of it, really, unless you know they really are irresponsible and don't care. But 9 times out of 10, people ignore debt because they can't cope, and they are in debt and they are struggling financially. So you've got a credit card, you can't pay the minimum payment, you are getting letters, you're getting late charges, you're getting phone calls 4 or 5 times a day. However, say you are sitting there right now and you are deeply depressed and you can't even function and you can't focus speaking on the phone. This is really what it's centered about, guys, actually speaking on the phone. When I am depressed, I can't always cope. I can't always bear the thought of making a phone call to a creditor. And I don't see why you should have to. You know, depression takes mental energy, and it also takes a lot of focus. And when you have depression, anxiety, you don't have that. You could have a panic attack on the phone, which I have. So I'm going to give you some tips, all right? If your creditor has an email address, email them and ask them for 30 days breathing space until you have sorted it out. Now, there's advantages and disadvantages to this, okay? So if they've got an email address, of course, you can email them and explain that you are suffering with a mental health condition. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, in fact, I've never had a creditor refuse to not give me 30 days. They will give you 30 days. You think, oh, great. And then they say, yeah, we'll put your account on hold. The downside is after 30 days, they'll get back on the phone and they'll start ringing and ringing and ringing. If you can cope on the phone, that's absolutely great. You know, you'll be able to sort these problems out. However, if you cannot cope on the phone, you shouldn't have to speak on the phone. Okay, so there are options. Now, I'm going to give you the advice that has worked for me, or is working. First of all, get to your doctor. Okay, I know that you're probably thinking, I can't get an appointment with my doctor. Letters. Write your GP a letter. They have to acknowledge it. You write your GP a letter as a first port of call and you say, I'm suffering with depression, I need help. They'll get you in. Or a phone call to a GP. Then, you get this form here, okay? It's from the Money Advice Liaison Group, okay? And it is the Debt and Mental Health Evidence Form. I actually got my doctor to fill this out. And it answers all of the questions that a creditor needs to know. And also, if a creditor has been sent this, they have to support you. They cannot ignore it, okay? So I actually have gone down the route in the past 6 months of, I asked my doctor to provide a letter. Because I went one day and I was like, I can't cope, I want to kill myself. I don't want to live anymore with everything, but I'm getting phone calls constantly from these creditors. And, you know, yeah, I was suicidal, but at the same time, I sort of had hope that I was going to get everything together, because I knew that I wanted to, you know, with my business and everything. So she wrote me this fantastic letter to send to creditors, and it was perfect. I mean, it really hit the nail on the head. And then a couple of creditors I got, she suggested 6 months. Straight away saying, thank you for your letter. In light of your situation, we're going to give you 6 months breathing space. And then after the 6 months, we'll contact you and we'll communicate via email and we'll sort out a plan for you. Okay. Now, I had a creditor keep calling me, like the one that 5 times a day. And I actually wrote them a letter and I said, please stop calling me. Here is some evidence of my condition and the reason why I haven't actually been answering the phone. I explain why, and I actually put in the letter, you know, as you can appreciate, answering a phone call from a creditor when you feel like you want to end your own life isn't really a priority. Okay, so that's one option. And I really advise writing letters to companies, because they have to acknowledge you, and then they'll write back. And then what will happen is they will have these details on file. So every time, you know, on their system that it shows you've got a missed payment, they'll know that it's due to a condition that you've got, okay? Or a letter that's on there. They'll know it's due to a condition that has been evidenced by your doctor. Because there was one creditor that said, we can't hold it for any longer without medical evidence. I was like, okay, fine, I'll go to my doctor. And it really did the job. Okay, so there's that option. There was another option as well, which I don't know if I'm going to go down this route yet, because I can cope sometimes on the phone, and actually I would rather just speak to people myself. You can actually ask someone else to communicate with your creditors on your behalf if you don't feel able to. But you've got to feel like you can trust someone. You've got to feel that you can trust that person, and that you're comfortable with them knowing about your financial situation. To be honest, if you have been at rock bottom with depression, you probably won't be proud, and you probably won't care. So that is another option. The third option is this. You can go to step change, which I do recommend. They are great, and actually what they can do is they can deal with all of your creditors on your behalf. However, you may need to call them, and obviously the whole point of this is if you're not able to talk on the phone, it's going to be difficult. You can do some of it online. You can talk to them online. However, if you're struggling to speak, tell them when you ring up and say, look, I need help with some debt advice, and you know, but I suffer with depression, I struggle on the phone. They'll get everything they can. They'll do everything they can to support you. And actually that does apply with any creditor, really. If you say straight away, I suffer with anxiety, I get panic attacks on the phone, so I'm panicking right now, so I might need to end this phone call early, they'll understand. So go to step change. Step change can actually put you under what's called a debt management plan. It's not an IVA. It's not like going bankrupt. It's just they look at your affordability, and they will deal with your creditors on your behalf. They will send them a letter, and they will say, we're going to pay you £2 to £5 a month. You can either accept this or you can't. Again, they will advise you. They'll advise you. I'm not a debt advisor, by the way. So there is that option. Or the fourth option is, and this might make you feel better, if you feel that you can manage on the phone, but it's still the calling a call center and getting different people every time, ask that there is one or two people that you can liaise with that can handle your case. And sometimes it's better, because then you can phone and ask to speak to that person who, it just feels like they know your situation and they can work with you to get you back on track. Because there's nothing worse than getting through to a call center and you have to explain your situation about 10 times. I did it. And I actually said to one guy, I said, I'm sorry, I cannot explain this to you anymore. I'm on the phone all the time for about 45 minutes to an hour just explaining what has gone terribly wrong this year. I can't do it anymore. So that is something as well, okay? However, just remember that they do have to support you, okay? And they will try their best to support you, but it just has more clout if you've got some medical evidence. But get one of these. You can print them off online, okay? It's the debt and mental health evidence form that can be completed by your GP, okay? And there's other forms on here as well that might be handy for the Money Advice Liaison Group. And it's really had some clout, okay? So just know that you're not alone. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are in your position, whether you're a business owner, whether you are self-employed, whether you are employed, whether you're employed earning a full-time wage and you're still struggling for money. We're in a nation where people are struggling, okay? And as sad as that is, it means you're not alone. And people don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about when they have money problems. I know I didn't. There was a while I was so proud. But you know what? Circumstances change. And this is something that creditors know. When they offer you credit, or they offer you a financial plan, or life isn't certain. You know, the things that happened to me last year, oh my God, never thought would happen. And they were really out of my control. You know, it wasn't just the mental illness that really kicked in, it was physical illness as well. You know, as a result of the stress and the upset and the trauma, I developed high blood pressure. It's back to normal now. You know, my life is improving, but remember that you've got to take one step at a time. You're not well, okay? But try and do those steps that I've told you, because they work. They work for me. You know, like I refuse. I absolutely, it got to a point though with this creditor where they were calling 5 times a day, and I was like, I could answer, but I absolutely refuse to have this conversation on the phone. So I've written to them. I've given them all the evidence. I've written a strongly worded email, and they'll have that on file as a complaint. So do what is best for you. But I really would recommend that you contact Step Change as well. They are great. They really are great. And again, years ago, I used Step Change. I have friends that use Step Change, and there are people that use Step Change that are actually getting themselves out of debt. So you're going to be okay. You will be okay. There's going to be days where you sit there and then debt just, it comes into your head. You're like, oh my God, I'm in debt. I'm in debt. What's going to happen? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? Are they going to do this? 9 times out of 10, our brain will completely run away with us. Okay, and try not to take too much notice of what you see on TV and in the media. Okay, things like debt collectors and bailiffs. You've got to remember that is at a point where it's been going on for a long time, and there's been no communication between you and them. Okay, so don't ignore it. Please don't ignore it, because it won't go away. However, there are ways to deal with it and ways to communicate with your creditors. Okay, and they obviously they want you to get back to normal, so they're going to help you. Okay, and you want to get back to normal. So they might offer you payment plans. They might offer you reduced payment plans. They might say to you, we're going to put your account on hold for 30 days, 60 days, for 3 months, 6 months, and then we're going to revisit, and then we're going to find a way to help you, you know, repay us. Okay, and always try and work with them, guys. Don't point blank say to them, I'm not paying you back, because at the end of the day, unfortunately, you've entered into a credit agreement with them. So to sort of be like, I'm not paying that, obviously that's not the right attitude to have. However, there are ways that you can work with them. Okay, work with them, and they'll work with you, I promise. Anyway, long video, but I just want you to know that you're not alone. Okay, so go to Step Change if you feel that you can't do it alone. If you can do it alone, work with your creditors, write to them, email them, of course phone them, but I know that that's not always easy. So I hope this has made you feel a little bit better, and I'll post links to, you know, the money advice service, Step Change. There's business debt line as well for if you're self-employed. But yeah, you're gonna be okay, promise. It's just money. The thing that matters in life is you, the people around you. Okay, they're just things, and you'll get it sorted. Anyway, have a good one, guys.